All right, and welcome back to the Revolutionary Tribe. I am Dan DeMann with the $1 billion plans that wants to give you money. So I am going to be making a commercial here soon, and then everybody you're going to see about a minute in, reminding you. It'll be a very quick, maybe like 20-second one, and then I'll direct you to one of those things that pops out on the side. And also in the description, you can click on the link of what's the greater goal. Because this is, I'm not a guy about mental masturbation. I'm not a guy of just talk. I can talk a lot, for sure, because I have a lot to say and I've consumed a lot of information, practical information that can help people, right? But again, I can only lead you to water. I can't make you drink it, okay? So the goal is to create an economic army. Because I was thinking about today, I always try to find analogies. I'm like, imagine if all the revolutions that happened throughout the world that were positive, actually, because there were some certain revolutions that took over, and then it actually was kind of, well, one can say it was worse, one could say it was the opposite, or maybe it's just the same. Corruption is corruption, right? So, for example, Cuba, Fidel Castro and Che Guevara. But what I've increasingly find in my life as I observe more and more is that the majority of the masses, aka dumbasses, and I still love my brothers and sisters, but I'm still gonna say what is observable, right? The majority, aka the masses, equals dumbasses. Okay, so there's not. I mean, again, as you listen to these books, you understand that it's not a coincidence, But it also doesn't mean because it is that way for so long doesn't mean that it won't eventually change. Eventually, we will become more evolved to whatever degree, and to the degree I'm talking about is the degree where we stop basically competing with each other, And don't get me wrong, you can still have competition, but not in a way that is self-destructive or collectively destructive, which is what we have now. And that's my gripe with some of these capitalists. Even though some people will look at me, well, you're a capitalist, you're enjoying the benefits of capitalism. Blah, 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 blah. Let's just say I'm trying to continue capitalism, but not in the way that capitalism has done in the past. So, for example, people talk about competition is good. Yes, it is. God says here we're not meant to be equals, and we want novelty and whatever. We can have that. I'm just saying we need to eliminate the way that certain companies will actually sabotage other companies that are going to take over their basically monopoly, right? So that's what I'm talking about, right? That's what I'm saying. That's why everything's it's nuanced. But you have these idiots of like, oh, communism and this and that, blah, 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 like capitalism it is better within the context of, let's say, giving. Yes, it is slightly better, but just because it's slightly better than all these other systems that were kind of whack, meaning the kings and queens and monarchies and shit like that, right? Where there was no social mobility, as they say, right? In capitalism, yes, that's where capitalism does thrive. There is social mobility, but there are flaws with capitalism in itself, right? The capitalism that basically companies who poison the water, poison the air, poison the food just to make more profit for their stockholders, okay? Or the companies that will sabotage other companies, Rockefeller, right? Again, on one hand, you got to give it to him for the diabolical ingenious of it, but it's also like, how did he have all that capital? Or maybe was he already in cahoots with the bank and say, okay, you know what? I have a plan. I have a plan to kind of consolidate power. I am going to sell my oil at a very cheap price, right? So cheap that my competitors can't compete, right? And as long as you give me access, or like I said, the other option is maybe he was very frugal. Maybe he really didn't live a crazy life and spent that money because he was so about competition, so about ruthlessly owning and controlling everything, right? You want to control, that he disciplined himself to not spend this money on dumb shit. So on that front, I cannot, let's say, hate the guy for having that discipline, to have that money, to be able to, in a sense, lose it in order for him to squash the competition and buy them for pennies on a dollar. Okay, this is why I was on Twitter today, and someone was complaining about some thief running away with stealing from Walmart and one of the Walmart workers knocking them over. So you have one camp that says, "Oh my God, this is an injustice," da da da. And there's another camp saying, "But what about all the wage theft that Walmart does?" Now, see, this is where usually both sides hate me, right? Because usually get two polarizing things, and I'm like, "Yo, man, it's more nuanced than that." Sure, the guy that was stealing, okay, he's in the wrong, but so is fucking Walmart, okay? And on the other hand, I'm like, but who are these employees? If you actually go talk to them, right, you're gonna see that, again, in capitalism, no one's pointing a gun. But you'll have these liberal motherfuckers talk about, it's they're afraid of becoming homeless and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, what? Being homeless and starving to death, right? Because they don't have any money to buy food. What do you think would happen if you got stranded in the middle of the island? If you don't get your ass up in the morning and go hunting for your food, start learning how to plant seeds and farm, you're gonna die. So either way, whether you're in this concrete jungle or the old nature jungle, it's still whatever, it's still, I guess, survival of the fittest, right? And that's why people can justify what these companies are doing. So I'm like, okay, what the fuck is it? Are we animals or are we above animals? What the fuck is it? Make a fucking decision, So anyway, so I'm like, these employees are not having if there was a gun, literal gun in their head, say, hey, work, as in old dynasties and monarchies and all this other stuff, right? That was a different story. They are there by their own choice. That's where I give credit to capitalism. You are there by choice, okay? I've been fired and more importantly, I've quit many of jobs. Why? Because unlike those Walmart workers, I come home and I educate myself, right? I don't fucking drink beer. I don't fucking go to the clubs. I don't play video games. None of this fucking bullshit, right? And I've taken risks that other people are too afraid to do. So on that hand, I cannot blame Walmart for hey, this is what we'll pay you, and if you're an idiot enough to fucking accept that shit and be self-exploited, that is what you deserve, okay? Just like if you're going to the jungle and not being fucking cautious that hey, I'm in a jungle, there's fucking snakes and all this shit, and then you get bitten, what the fuck do you expect, man? So, but whatever. Let's start this. I digress on that, but I'm just telling you, we're gonna get into very complex things, and that's why I like mapping things out. That's what I'm doing over here. I think it's in high sub. Oh no, come on. What is going on here? Right here, right? Well, why is this thing freezing? Oh yeah, as far as I can go. You see, all these different things, I am mapping things out so people can understand. Like I was mapping out Bitcoin and basically why gold is fucked up and why Bitcoin is fucked up to a certain degree. So that's a whole other conversation. But you see, I try to make visual maps so that people can follow, because complex ideas, right? Just like, let's say if you're trying to get from New York to California, right? Without a map, it's going to be very complex, right? So a visual map reduces the complexity and makes it simple to understand and follow. Because are you going to remember fucking 50 different turns? No, you're not. So great, my fans seems like they're gonna start going, but all right, here we go. All right, let's play this. What's going on here?
Every human thought and every human action is based in either love or fear. There's no other human motivation, and all other ideas are but derivatives of these two. They are simply different versions, different twists on the same theme. Think on this deeply, and you will see that it is true. This is what I have called the sponsoring thought. It is either a thought of love or fear. This is the thought behind the thought behind the thought. It is the first thought. It is prime force. It is the raw energy that drives the engine of human experience. And here is how human behavior produces repeat experience after repeat experience. It is why humans love, then destroy, then love again. Always there's the swing from one emotion to the other. Love sponsors fear, sponsors love, sponsors fear. And the reason is found in the first lie. The lie which you hold is the truth about God, that God cannot be trusted. That God's love cannot be depended upon. That God God's acceptance of you is conditional, that the ultimate outcome is thus in doubt. For if you cannot depend on God's love to always be there, on whose love can you depend? If God retreats and withdraws when you do not perform properly, will not mere mortals also? And so it is that in the moment you pledge your highest love, you greet your greatest fear. The first thing you worry about after saying I love you is whether you'll hear it back. And if you hear it back, then you begin immediately to worry that the love you have just found you will lose. And so all action becomes a reaction, defense against loss, even as you seek to defend yourself against the loss of God. Yet if you knew who you are, that you are the most magnificent, the most remarkable, the most splendid being God has ever created, you would never fear. For who could reject such wondrous magnificence?
Now, so to give you context in that, right? I am going to amass a lot of wealth, and I've been contemplating if I wanted to become, in a sense, famous, because again, everything's a double-edged sword. If you become famous, again, you won't be able to walk around without being bothered, right? There's a price to pay for everything, right? But then I'm like, so on my selfish side, I'm like, okay, I don't want to be famous because I don't want anybody. It's better. You have more power when no one knows you. You can't shoot what you don't see, what you can't see, right? So if you don't know that I'm extremely wealthy, there's no. I don't increase my chance of people abducting my family, my loved ones, whatever, right? But on the other hand, I'm like, okay, but now I'm living in a sense of sort of fear, right? And Jesus and all the great masters has always taught in public. They weren't secretive, right? So I'm like, okay, so I have to sacrifice, right? And it would suck, yes, if someone would abduct my family, but I rather, again, since I don't see death like most people, right, it is what it is. I'm going to try to obviously give enough money for them to go whatever. And I'm just saying, I was torn by it, but ultimately I made a decision that, you know what, I have to be a public teacher, right? I can't, you got to lead by example, right? So again, I'm a big advocate about walking your truth, So, what was I saying here? Hold on, let me see.
And God could find fault in such a being, this magnificence. Not even God could find fault in such a being. But you do not know who you are. Remarkable, the most splendid being God has ever created. You would never fear.
Exactly. Okay, so yeah, that's the thing. You'll never fear, right? So once you understand these things, truly, again, do I say I never have the sensation of fear or the thought of fear? Yes. But the difference between me and the rest of the people is that fear is only there for about a second, maybe a day, but it's not a lingering thing, right? And of course, that's the journey, that's the fun of this game, of reducing, basically that's what I've been doing. I've been reducing all fears, right? Reducing all fears. And that's what I do. That's what I'm saying. I have the same fears as all of you, whatever, right? But the difference is how fast I embrace those fears. And that, unfortunately, again, every blessing is a curse, because the blessing of head spearing your fears is that I've had to lose a lot of people, right? I may even lose my own family, right? When I can no longer deal with their limited thoughts. Luckily, they've been somewhat cooperative, right? And I've been able, again, you uplift people by uplifting your first, right? That's why everything I'm doing right now is I'm putting my own house in order first, right? Sure, again, I get distracted, but eventually, I will break through, right? Again, you fall off the wagon, you get back up, right? So, yeah, the reason, so apart from the money, that thing that's going to separate me from people to a certain degree, right? Again, if I let it, right? Again, I'm not going to be wearing bling blings, okay? But I am be driving a $2 million car, living in an $8 million mansion, and maybe another, $1 million, couple $1 million in Colorado as well, right? Private jets. I don't think I ever buy one because I think it's foolish. Even though the money will not be a limit. I'll be a multi-decker billionaire. It doesn't matter, right? Again, if you also factor in all the money that I'm going to give away, I'm going to factor in. Okay, hey, look, had I never given this money away, right, I could have invested it into whatever investments that come about and made more money, and big dick measuring contest, whatever, with all these other foolish men that I think is funny. Oh, you're a broke boy. It's like, okay, when I surpass you, then I flip it on you. Then what? It's a stupid ass fucking game if you think about it. But nonetheless, money makes the world go round. So that's one of the things these books will try to hopefully get you to snap out of. Okay. That doesn't mean you have to, all of us have a different mission here, right? So when I go within and meditate and I ask myself, okay, what do I want to do? Because that's what God says, right? You're here to create yourself. You're not here to learn. You're not here you're not here to pay for karma, none of this stuff. You are here to create yourself and recreate yourself to the next highest vision, right? So when I think about what is my highest vision, then I'm like, oh, damn, shit, I love the problems because the problems are opportunities, right? And when you solve problems, you make money, right? But now what do you do with the money? My ultimate goal with the money, here's the irony. My ultimate goal for all these billions of dollars is to have enough energy to reconstruct our economic system where we don't need any money, right? Create the software, the blockchain. Right now, as you can see my channel, right? That's when I talk about the We the People of Spaceship Earth blockchain, right? That's what I'm talking about. It's basically a heat map, whatever you want to call it. A detection for inflation, because inflation is how greed happens. I've been finding a couple of good YouTube videos. I wish I had the instance when I was there to record everything else, but the point is, right, not only do you have corporations using inflation as an excuse to increase their price, but they were automatically just increasing their price, right? And sure, the whole theory of whatever the economy can bear, right? Whatever the market can bear. Sure, but then it stays that way. But does that mean it's going to create a healthy society? And no, all for what? For the sake of fucking profits, moving fucking numbers, and in the end, the majority of people, even the rich, are going to regret it. Or they might even regret it because they don't make the connection, right? So just because they're smart in making money does not mean they're smart in understanding the balance of society, right? That's where they're not smart, right? And hopefully, with the billions of dollars, with the billions of dollars that I will be making, I'm going to be making movies and also to educate people as well as possible. Because what I realize now, the hardest part is reducing, I guess, complex things to their most basic functioning. Because again, complexity is only built on simplicity, right? So you have to reduce it because the IQ is so low. Not only has it been socially engineered, but unfortunately, the masses, that's what they want. And again, God is not going to interfere. Anybody who has studied history has understand God's not going to interfere with anything. All right, look, ask the Jews. They think they're the God's chosen people. Where was God when Hitler was around? Where the justice came later. It's like just stop it, man. It doesn't work, right? Free will is truly free will. People don't understand the implications of that, right? Just like these books, right? It's going to take you multiple times to listen, right? And that's why I'm finally making these. I've been wanting to do this for a long time to hopefully articulate more what the implications of all this is. All right. So anyway, so the point is, you're going to see me have a lot of money very fast, and you're going to be like, oh, he got lucky or this and that, blah blah blah. It's like, no, I've been fighting this fear, doubt, and uncertainty programming, right? And that's not just for crypto world. That's just for life. All right. The news, all it is about fear mongering, right? Division, race, culture, religion, all these stupid things, right? While the rich are actually practicing the law of unity. And again, God does not discriminate. Again, there's a lot of things about God you have to learn. Even some of these spiritual people with gurus and all this other bullshit, right? Even they have to learn that basically, again, they're not doing anything wrong. They're just limiting themselves, and that's not wrong either. But it still doesn't change the fact that you're limiting yourself, right? You're still thinking you need a guru or Jesus or Buddha or whatever. When actually, well, Jesus, I don't know about Buddha per se, but they were trying to tell you, hey, it's all within you, right? You have to find your own Christ mission and deal with it. And of course, nothing matters. So again, the sun's going to blow up and all this other stuff. So it doesn't really matter. So just do what you feel like doing. Again, hopefully you'll follow the law of do unto others what you want to be done unto you. Now, there are some exceptions to that because there are certain people who are masochists. So yes, they would love people to hurt them, and they'll hurt other people because they love being hurt, right? So that's one of those exceptions. But in general, right, it's very simple, right? My morality, right, because like God says here, like from what rule of thumb do you judge what is good and wrong, right? You're gonna make a decision anyways, so that will be your definition of good and wrong. But it says think very hard before you start getting on this righteous, what's wrong and right. Again, so once you understand, that's when people say, oh, what's wrong with that? I'm like, I never said anything was wrong with it. I'm just saying relative to what you said or what the general population is saying, we want peace, love, and peace and love like all these hippies. Well, your actions are not going to get you to that destination. Okay, so I'm not judging you morally on behalf of some God or whatever, right? But also, again, if the thing you are doing, you wouldn't like other people to do it to you, that is what is morally wrong. That's how I define morally wrong, right? If you wouldn't like it to be done to you, don't do it to other people, right? Simple as that.
For who could reject such wondrous magnificence? Not even God could find fault in such a being. But you do not know who you are. And you think you are a great deal less. Where did you get the idea of how much less than magnificent you are? The only people whose word you would take on everything, from your mother and your father. These are the people who love you the most. Why would they lie to you? Yet have they not told you that you are too much of this, not enough of that? Have they not reminded you that you are to be seen and not heard? Have they not scolded you in some of the moments of your greatest exuberance? And did they not encourage you to set aside some of your wildest imagining? These are the messages you've received. And though they do not meet the criteria and are thus not messages from God, they might as well have been. For they have come from the gods of your universe, surely enough. It was your parents who taught you that love is conditional. You have felt their conditions many times, and that is the experience you take into your own love relationships. It is also the experience you bring to me. From this experience, you draw your conclusions about me. Within this framework, you speak your truth. God is a loving God, you say, but if you break his commandments, he will punish you with the eternal banishment and everlasting damnation.
So when I was basically, well, it was the 6th grade, right? Let me tell you a story. So I was 6th grade, I was bored as fuck, right? I was kind of the class clown, but for some reason, I decided to skip to the chapter of history when it dealt with religions, and I think Islam was the first one, then Buddhism, or maybe Buddhism was the first one. Either way, Islam, Buddhism, Christianity, right? The very few things that I read, right, and shout out I guess to whoever that historian was that wrote that book together, I quickly realized, right? Again, it's truth is so fucking simple that sometimes it baffles people so much. Like the Federal Reserve makes money out of thin air. What? It's just too simple. I can't believe it. It's fucking retarded, right? So anyways, it was very simple, right? Religion, right? Catholicism, right? In general, right? From hearing it from the grapevine, right? God loves you. God's unconditional love. God loves you. Da, da, da. And yet here we come, the Mexicans talking about, right, the pecado and the sins and all this other fucking dumb shit, right? Like, how is it that how can you say on one side of your breath that God is love, and then you're saying, oh, Jesus te va a castigar, or what the fucking hell and all this other shit, right? For all the Latinos out there, right? It was just hypocritical. To me, it's like simple, like, wait, that's fucking hypocrisy. Either God is love or it's not. Right, and that was the biggest thing that made me go into so-called atheism, but really I was an agnostic. I still believed in God. I just don't believe in the gods that came from the Bible or the scriptures or any other scriptures, right? Because they're all basically the same. Oh, God is love, God is infinite power. Oh, but if you don't act this way, he's gonna punish you and all this other bullshit, right? And then all the fucking idiots that are so-called, I'm a Christian, but here I'm gonna kill you because you haven't converted into Christianity or Muslim or Islam or whatever, right? All the religions have their bloods, their hands full of blood, with the stupidity of just they're hypocrites, man. And my blood boils when you're dealing with hypocrites.
Or have you not experienced the banishment of your own parents? Do you not know the pain of their damnation? How, then, could you imagine it to be any different with me? You have forgotten what it was like to be loved without condition. You do not remember
the experience of the love of God. And so you try to imagine what God's love must be like. based on what you see of love in the world. You have projected the role of parent onto God, and have thus come up with a God who judges and rewards or punishes based on how good he feels about what you've been up to. But this is a simplistic view of God based on your mythology. It has nothing to do with who I am. Having thus created an entire thought system about God based on human experience rather than spiritual truths, you then create an entire reality around love. It is a fear-based reality, rooted in the idea of a fearful, vengeful God. Its sponsoring thought is wrong, but to deny that thought would be to disrupt your whole theology. And though the new theology, which would replace it, would truly be your salvation, you cannot accept it, because the idea of a God who is not to be feared, who will not judge, and who has no cause to punish is simply too magnificent to be embraced within your grandest notion of who and what God is. This fear-based love reality dominates your experience of love. Indeed, actually creates it. For not only do you see yourself receiving love which is conditional, you also watch yourself giving it in the same way. And even while you withhold and retrieve.
So yes, so within the context of money, right, in that statement, I observed that obviously I have to be very conditional, right, and I don't want to be. Thus, therefore, I said, okay, fine, I am going to get a lot of money so I can give it to people. I'm just changing out the ice pack here because this fan's gonna get loud. Yes, I can give it to people and not harm myself, because the law is love thyself, thy neighbor, and thy God. And you love God by loving thyself and thy neighbor, right? So, of course, again, we all need money to pay for our shelter, our food, and all this other stuff, right? So that's why you have a lot of these retarded spiritual and religious people who give money to their church or their spiritual organization and they're fucking broke, right? And these fucking mega churches and even some of these spiritual fucking places, right? The founder is living a rich life, and here you are, you're thinking you're good because, oh, I gave money and money doesn't matter and this and that. And then a fucking emergency happens and you're fucking broke, you know? I can't deal with people with that type of mentality, you know, unfortunately. But anyway, and that's the irony, right? That even though I don't like those people, right, if they were, you know, I'm giving myself, okay, you can't give what you don't have. So you got to give yourself abundance first. How are you going to give anybody what you don't have? This is, in a sense, this is why, in a sense, you, in the Conversation with God book, it talks about you have to be selfish in a sense. Or, sorry, self-centered. Not to be confused, right? Yes, people can use it as synonymously with the word selfish. No. But again, if you listen closely, there's a difference between being self-centered and selfish. All right, so be self-centered to give yourself abundance, so then you have abundance to give. You can't give what you don't have. All right, so that's the problem with a lot of these religious and spiritual people, and I get it. I understand it, because why? I've been exposed to the exact same shit, and that's what I'm saying. That's been the challenge in my life, is to deprogram that shit. And it doesn't, just like habits don't change overnight, right? These thoughts ain't gonna happen right away. All right, so because I was brought up Catholic, luckily my parents weren't strict on it, but it doesn't matter. See, even people who are supposedly secular and all that stuff, it doesn't matter. We're surrounded by a bunch of religious and spiritual idiots. All right, with their gurus and fucking pastors and fathers and all, whatever, whatever, however the religion breaks that shit down, right? Because it's no different. Whether guru, pastor, father, doesn't matter. It's the same shit. You're not doing what God said. Go within, right? The answer's within, not with the guru, not with the father, not with the priest, none of that shit. It's within yourself. If people are lazy, that's what Conversation with God says. The reason why religion is so popular is because then you don't have to think. Oh, my guru says that. My pastor says this. Oh, therefore it's correct. Now I don't have to think, right? It's just sheer laziness. And so be it. What you eat doesn't make me shit. Meaning that whatever you think, you're going to have to suffer the consequences, or maybe even the benefits, right? Because I'm not saying that what everything that the gurus or the pastors or the fathers say is completely wrong. No, they actually have a piece of the kernel of the truth, you know? So there again, it's a double-edged sword. It's nuanced. Again, it's not. No one's completely neither here nor there. But I'm saying in general, though, right, to the higher truths, right? You don't need no guru. You don't need no father. You need no pastor. You need no Bible. You don't even need conversation with God. And that's the whole point. People are like, oh, you use like a Bible. It's like, no. The difference is saying this God is saying, think for yourself. This is in a sense. That's why I say it's kind of a philosophical book. It's not teaching you what to think. That's what religions and spirituality tells you, what to think. But this book tells you how to think, and it tells you to think for your own. Yes, you can call upon me, which is really just calling upon your higher self. But yeah, go within and ask for the solutions to your problems at its core, right? And what is most people's problems these days, right? That's why I created the excerpts on relationships, sex, and money, right? Because those are the biggest things. Of course, your relationship with God, the whole book covers it, right? In a plethora. But the main things that humans are concerned with is relationships and sex, right? They're intertwined, right? And money. Why? Because women charge money for sex. Let's just keep it a buck. I'm not saying it's wrong or right. I'm just saying the sky is blue. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but because, again, people have toxic views of sex and money, therefore to admit that women are prostitutes by default, right? Even though in this day and age where they can work and all sorts of stuff, right? They still choose to be prostitutes, right? So, and again, it's just, especially the Christians, right? They're like, oh, these prostitutes, right? They talk bad and shit. Like, but what did your fucking so-called a God named Jesus do? He protected the prostitute, right? And what did he say onto the people, right? He knew that basically everybody inherently knew, if they really thought about it for a second, understood that marriage is prostitution nonetheless. Because I do the test on men all the time. If you propose to your wife and the wife that you're with now, and she said, hey, I'm gonna cook, clean, give you babies, take care of the babies, and be your assistant, but I'm not gonna give you consistent sex, would the man go forward with the proposal? No, right? So, and if she doesn't get those monetary benefits directly, indirectly, is she going to give you access to sex or her womb? Because they're interrelated, right? Sure, she can split it apart. That's why it's kind of a complex thing. What's a woman's worth? What's women's higher worth, sex or the womb? Well, it depends on what age you're living in. But right now, right, in a sense, you can say, well, a woman's womb is worth more, not only intrinsically, but financially. Right? Intrinsically, because when a woman has a kid with a guy and that guy leaves or he dies and she becomes a single mother, her dating prospects dwindle very drastically. She could be a dime 10 and it's still going to be hard for a man to take on another man's a financial burden, right? Because kids are financial burdens. Now, if you get lucky and you get an ambitious man, because again, most women are not, again, look at the women who are making money now. It's all has to deal with sex. OnlyFans girls, right? Hollywood actress, exact same thing, right? Because as soon as they're no longer sexy, do you ever hear about them anymore? That's why I tell women all the time. Do you remember all the hot women that you looked up to from Hollywood? Where are they now? No, they're nowhere to be seen. Why? Because they're old now. Their skin is saggy. It doesn't matter. Look at that Polish or Eastern European model from the 80s who married the Cars. Right? She's out here, oh my God, these men don't want me anymore, blah, 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 blah. It's like, okay, yeah, now you're a man. Now you get to experience, right? It's karma or whatever, or the tables turn. Now you get to experience what most men will experience. No attention. They don't care about you, right? We don't care how smart you are, none of this shit, because you don't care how nice we are as long as we have that money. So you see, it's not equal, but it's equivalent. It's equivalent. So yeah, so again, it just goes back to the root of thought that sex is bad and money is bad. Therefore, women feel bad, right? And they try to finesse you, and you men let it by because if you call them, hey, just tell me your price for access to your sex. Oh, sorry, I was going back to this. Sorry, now I remember. So, surrogacy for a woman the national average is $70,000. Now, do most men have $70,000 to purchase a kid from a woman? No. But women also want kids. So if you factor that into a regular, the regular relationship where they're not admitting that basically it's sex in exchange for resources and protection, right? Thus prostitution, right? Well, therefore, then it's like, okay, well, if you also wanted the kid, then in a sense, you would, if you had to pay for male sperm, right? which is kind of a thing, right? If you go to sperm bank, I mean, it's not as valuable as much because most guys will give you their sperm. Even some rich dudes would give you their sperm, even though some of them might be. I mean, again, how many guys are rich and would also value their sperm? Who knows? Like Drake. Okay, Drake valued his sperm, right? That's why he put the hot sauce in the condom with that girl who gave him free sex. People think, oh, he got free sex. No, he didn't. Drake had to become famous and make millions of dollars and probably flew her over there, right? So if he paid for that flight, that Uber, all that shit, again, I don't care if you even pay for a fucking drink that's like $2 or whatever. You're paying for sex, all right? Because why? It's men's fault. It's not women's fault per se. Sure, they can. I mean, look, it's both people's fault. Sorry, it takes two to tango, right? So it's men's fault because men are willing to give away their dick and sex away for free, right? It's women's fault because now that they can work and everything else, they still decide to put a price on it. But what's it called? But how dare you call me a prostitute? Wait, but if I don't pay for the dinner or if I don't pay the prostitute, what's the difference? Okay, you accept payment through dinner payments and other things that are monetary value. Did you not pay with your credit card? Do you not have to pay your credit card with your cash at the end of the month or pay eventually with high interest? Therefore, it's still monetary value, you know? So anyway, so yes. So on one hand, you could say women's sex is more valuable because look at the average, how many kids do people have in America? Well, actually, it's dwindled down, but in general, right, it's been about 2 kids, right? I don't know where they come up with this 2.5 bullshit. I don't know what the fuck that means, okay? No, maybe, I guess, yeah, that's kind of, again, I'm not going to get into that. But the point is, okay, on average, 2 to 3, right? So if women women on average are popping out 2 to 3 kids at $70K a pop, what is that? That's $210,000. Okay, but now we also know women spend money like a fucking idiots, right? They spend money like idiots, right? They buy all kinds of shit, and yet they have the nerve to say, oh, I care about the environment, I care about my kids, and yet they're fucking shopping things that are produced in a non-sustainable way that is poisoning the water, poisoning the air, right? And yes, the men are guilty for selling this shit and putting it in front of women's faces. But if women never bought, those men would have never made money and become rich and whatnot, right? They wouldn't produce a product because there's no demand. So as long as women buy this shit, there will be a demand, and therefore there'll be a reason for them to keep producing this shit. All right. Now, so on the other hand, right? Again, so if she already pops out 3 kids, right? The husband is still going to expect sex after the fact. So again, like I tell all relationships, if both of you had to outsource everything you get within a relationship, right? Where you claim you're loving each other unconditionally. No, you're not. It's conditional based on the man having money and the woman being sexually attractive, staying sexually attractive, and even giving sex, which a lot of women don't end up stop doing that anyways in a marriage. It's called dead bedroom. But men can't argue can't destroy the marriage contract based on the fact that in certain states, of alienation, right? So, and you can't put in the contract, hey, you as a wife must give me sex every 2 to 3 days. No, because why? Prostitution is illegal. But regardless of it being illegal, it's still happening, right? Because if the man loses his job, there goes bye-bye to the wife, right? If the wife stops giving sex and he didn't sign a marriage contract, he's probably gonna leave, right? Or he's gonna cheat because he may get maybe some other things, right? And he's just trying to be politically correct, trying not to hurt her feelings, just like women don't try to hurt men's feelings. Oh, I couldn't tell him because I didn't want to hurt his feelings. Yeah, what the fuck? It's white. Oh my God, it's just so ridiculous, man. It's just both men and women. I don't like none of you that cannot tell the truth, right? And this applies to my family as well. I had to red pill my mom and my sister and all sorts of stuff. Of course, it's too late or whatever. They're not going to change a thing, My mom is too late, obviously, because she, they already went through divorce. My sister, well, that's to be remain. Okay, will she live in quiet desperation like most people live, and be in denial that the reason why they're together is because the woman is old, her womb is no longer functional, she can't jump to the next rich guy because the rich guy's looking for the younger girls, right? And the dude that's with her, he's probably average income, so he can't afford the younger girls who are now monetizing their ass like crazy, right? And so be it. I think it's a better solution because when you look at Conversation with God or Abraham Hicks, right? I will make a video eventually of that, right? What do they talk about? The soul will eventually want its freedom, right? Relationships, marriage doesn't seem like it's an institution or you're bound or you're not free because you want the person at the time. But when the interest is no longer there, right now, all of these restrictions, all of a sudden you feel you're going to want to break through, and that's why women cheat, and that's why men cheat. Who cheats first, who knows, and whoever finds out. Some women will cheat and the man will never find out. Primarily because a lot of you men are lazy, all right? Even if you have cameras in your house and all this other shit, right? She can go like, hey, honey, I'm going to the store. I'm going to be off for a couple hours, I'm going to go buy shit. So he's jerking off the porn at the house, right? Thus, in a sense, cheating. Like Christians say, oh, if it's in your mind, you're cheated. And she's actually cheating with some fucking guy at the grocery store, or she went to a hotel, right? And you'll know none the difference because maybe it's not your sexual rotation, or maybe you've been together 10 years and you don't even want to fuck her anymore, right? Because that happens too, right? So that's what I'm saying. Sometimes when you look at the divorce statistics, what is it? Is it because men no longer fuck their wives like they used to? And how can you when you had the exact same meal and the exact same thing? Does she fuck him like she used to fuck him when they were first in their honeymoon period? No. Right? Because long-term monogamy is not sustainable because it's not natural. It's normal, but it will never be natural. So understand the difference. Listen, in conversation talks about this a lot, right? Understand the difference between normal and natural. They're not the exact same shit, right? So we think monogamy and marriage is organic and it's natural. No, it's not. Because if it was natural, we wouldn't have divorce and cheating. It's that fucking simple. It's not complex math.
And set your conditions. A part of you knows this is not what love really is. Still, you seem powerless to change the way you dispense it. You've learned the hard way, you tell yourself, and you'll be damned if you're going to leave yourself vulnerable again. Yet the truth is, you'll be damned if you don't. By your own mistaken thoughts about love, do you damn yourself never to experience it purely? So too, do you damn yourself never to know me as I really am, until you do. For you shall not be able to be forever, and the moment will come for our reconciliation. Every action taken by human beings is based in love or fear, not simply those dealing with relationships. Decisions affecting business, industry, politics, religion, the education of your young, the social agenda of your nations, the economic goals of your society, choices involving war, peace, attack, defense, aggression, submission, determinations to covet or give away, to save or to share, to unite or to divide. Every single free choice you ever undertake arises out of one of the only two possible thoughts there are: a thought of love or a thought of fear.
Now here's the irony with that, right? So let me give you an example. So when I talk about building a city, right, it actually came from fear, but then you can convert fear to love, right? So once I let go of the fear of death and failure and all this other stuff, right, that's why I'm ambitious, because I give no fucks. That's the interesting irony of life, right? So it started with fear, but now, and out of that fear, I gathered all these skill sets that I can help people with now, right? And I can love people with, in a sense, right? By giving them that stuff. And that's the divine dichotomy, as God would talk about, right? That's what it says. It goes from fear to love, right? But so it's funny in this particular example, yes, it started from fear by wanting to obviously not be homeless, have food source, right? Not reduce the creature comforts that I have, right? To now, like, okay, I'm prepared for whatever happens. But yeah, it started out of fear, and now it's love based. Love for me, love meaning that I just love creating, and a big challenge like that gives me a higher purpose to live than just for myself, and therefore I converted fear into love, or fear was converted to love.
Fear is the energy which contracts, closes down, draws in, runs, hides, hoards, harms. Love is the energy which expands, opens up, sends out, stays, reveals, shares, heals. Fear wraps our bodies in clothing. Love allows us to stand naked. Fear clings to and clutches all that we have. Love gives all that we have away. Fear holds close. Love holds dear. Fear grasps. Love lets go. Fear rankles. Love soothes. Fear attacks. Love amends. Every human thought, word, or deed is based in one emotion or the other. You have no choice about this because there is nothing else from which to choose. But you have free choice about which of these to select.
All right, well, that's it for now, and I gotta go. But I'm attempting to be as consistent as possible because I know this will be very important, obviously, for you getting to understand me and a bunch of other things. But we'll talk later. Peace.